Hello, happy stampers. This is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations, bringing you the Paper Pumpkin April 2022 alternatives that I have created today. This kit is called Change is Beautiful. There is a place online where you can get cases for your Paper Pumpkin kits, and I will put the link to that in the description below. And what I do with my paper pumpkins is when I'm done, if there's anything left over, I put them in either standard or the larger stamp cases, depending on how much I'm trying to save. So like for this, just the stamp set is all that's needed. But there have been other times when I have saved envelopes or adornments or whatever. And the reason I have done that is because you can go back to past kits if you're doing, especially if you're doing paper pumpkin only and you're not into collecting everything under the sun that's Stampin' Up, like I do, then you're trying to make things from the kit with what you have. And if you've been subscribed for any length of time at all, you will end up with several stamp sets, and then you get a free ink spot every time, and so on. And so I keep those things because we can go back to them, and I'll be doing some of that today. So I wanted to be sure and tell you about that. I also wanted to show you that I have been keeping my ink spots here. Turn it right side up for everybody. And these cases, they had them in the fishing department at Walmart. Not very expensive. The ink spots fit in them perfectly. And the ones that I made for myself are the ones that are printed. But when you get them with the kits, they come like this. And I just put them in here. And I have a spot. I have two cases. And so they hold all of the colors that Stampin' Up! Has. And I've just been collecting these from various Stampin' Up! And it's just a nice storage option. So I thought I would share that with you as well today. And this is the kit. This is the cards here that you see. Those are the ones that the kit was designed to be making. And I'm not going to go into showing you those already made. You don't need to see those. You've got the paper. If you've got Paper Pumpkin, you've got this page. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. I do want to tell you, I will get that back, because on the back, down here on the bottom, it gives you the coordinating colors. So if you don't know for sure what colors would coordinate with the colors in the kit, they give you a list here. And so for this particular kit, Balmy Blue, Basic Black, Bermuda Bay, Crushed Curry, Evening Evergreen, Granny Apple Green, and Melon Mambo are the colors that coordinate with this kit. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. You can use that as your jumping off place if you're using some alternate colors that you have in your stash. Okay, I wanted you to see that in case you're new to Paper Pumpkin. Then I also want to tell you about next month's kit. This is available to subscribe to between now and May 10th. And they're going to be using all of the five brand new in colors that are coming out in the annual catalog in this kit, which will be kind of fun. I don't think you'll get 5 ink spots. You'll probably still just get 1, but the kit overall will feature all of those colors. Also, new subscribers that subscribe on or before May 10th will be entered to win a possible golden voucher, which will give you a $25 gift voucher to buy Stampin' Up! Products. So that's something to think about if you're on the fence about whether to do Paper Pumpkin or not. Here's your opportunity to possibly win something. And I would appreciate your subscribing through me, because I'm trying to build my subscription base. So if you have any questions, my link will be in the description box below. Okay, enough advertising. Let's get to the alternatives. First thing I want to do is show you the alternatives that one of my customers made. She is an avid stamper. Her name is Christine, and she's an avid stamper, and she has just about everything, right? So she brings in a lot of pieces from other things. but she also uses items from the kit as well. And she didn't really care for the cards the way they were designed in this kit, so she's taking pieces and making hers. So this card, she took the envelope and she cut it apart and created the background. Then these flowers here came from Darling Dahlias, I think is the name of it. The butterfly is in the kit, and she just stamped it and cut it out. And then she used one of the embellishments that's in the kit for the butterfly's little head there. This lovely scalloped and this piece both came from the dies, contour dies that come with the color and contour set in the main catalog. And so that's how she did that one. Then this one, she brought in, and she used a basic white thick base for this one. Then this one, she used a Bermuda Bay base, which is one of the coordinating colors. And she used the Daisy Punch and the medium Daisy Punch, small Daisy Punch, I think is what it was. She took white, basic white cardstock and a blending brush, and she blended Granny Apple Green and the Bermuda Bay onto the cardstock and then punched out the shapes. This piece that's in the background is from another one of the envelopes. It's from the flap of one of the envelopes, and we just cut it apart and then tore it to attach to the front here. This is also from Contour Dies and out of basic white. And then the butterflies are stamped with Granny Apple Green and Bermuda Bay, and they are winked with Wink of Stella to make them shimmer, which is kind of fun. Let's see if I can get you to see the shimmer. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. But anyway, and then I upgraded mine just a little bit. These yellow flower centers, they came from the kit, and I used them on my there we go. So I used them on my flowers, and then she had some extra embellishments from somewhere else that she used. So that was my friend's alternatives. Now let's get to mine. I got to do these in order, so let me get them up here. Just give me a minute. There is alternative number 1, and that is using this card base. I didn't care for these designs either. They're just not my style. Somebody, there's people out there that think these are beautiful, and that's great, and I'm so glad, but they're not for me. So I won't be using them. I'm going to be cutting these pieces apart and using them myself. So I'm using this piece, this card from the stamp set that came. And then these pieces and the butterflies are stamped, and that stamp is in the kit. The tag is in the kit. So then let me show you what I used. I think I got out the right one. Yes. This is the Beyond the Horizon. That's the March Paper Pumpkin Kit. And if you remember, just last month, there are these gorgeous large flowers. Now in the kit, there were these large flowers. And again, I wasn't super fond of them. They're pretty, but I thought, well, I've got a stamp that will make a large flower, so let's get that out. And if you've been subscribing at all for very long, you have this set. Melon Mambo is the ink that came with this set, and that's what they're stamped in. And then Evening Evergreen is one of the alternate colors, and I use that to stamp these leaves. And Crushed Curry, one of the alternate colors, or coordinating colors, I should say, I stamped the butterflies with those. So let me show you how I did this. There's not much to it. It's pretty simple. I started by cutting down this card front. And I wanted it to be the 4 by 5 1/4, so it's going to go onto the card. And I think I'm going to want this to be 5 1/4, but I also want it to not cut off too much on either side. I tried to keep it somewhat even, but I wasn't worried about being perfect because it's not meant to be perfectly square, right? So I'm going to start by just cutting it right next to the seam where it folded, and I'm going to cut that fold away, like that. And I'm going to save those because we're going to use those for the next card. So then I went this way and put it on the 5 1/4 mark to see how much. And it's going to cut away more than I want to. So I'm going to come back over here. It's just a little bit of a guessing game, I guess. I'm just going to play with it, take little bits off until I get it the size I want it. So there's the off of that side. I'm going to turn it around and put it on the 5 1/4 mark, and I think then that's going to be just perfect for that side. Then I want to make this one 4. So I've got a little over 4 1/4. So I've got about 1/4 of an inch to get rid of. So I know if I take this to 1/8 of an inch on this side, and then turn it around and put this on the 4-inch mark, and it'll end up taking about 1/8 of an inch off the other side. And there I have a 4 by 5 1/4 piece that's going to make our card front. I am also using basic white thick for my card base. And of course it's for, let's see, it's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And we'll burnish that. And then this is just attached flat on the front with that 1/8 inch border all the way around. And we'll use Stamp and Seal. Now in your kit, if you don't have this kind of adhesive, this is kind of one of the basics. If you don't want to be using the dots for everything that come with the kit, they're in there and that's what they're for. But if you want to have something that is a little bit easier to use, maybe is a good way to put it, I would recommend that this is one of the staples you should buy. Is some roller tape, double-sided tape. Another basic I think you should have is the basic white thick for bases. Maybe vanilla, but typically the kits come with basic white. So I primarily stick with the basic white thick. So there's the base all set to go. Now I have already stamped the flowers and the butterflies, but I'm going to have to cut them out. And so fussy cutting, and we're going to try and do this fairly quickly here because I've got 3 cards to make and I don't want this to get too terribly long, but it's kind of fun to show you what I do and tell you things along the way. A good pair of snips is always good to have. That's kind of one of the basics that you'll need. And I'm going to cut that little flower off. You'll see, as you can see on the original, and I'll bring it back in a minute. A good pair of snips, and these are really good snips. And they're in the catalog, the main catalog. I think they're $10 a pair, but I've had mine forever. I've had to sharpen them a couple times because, you know, paper dulls scissors really fast. So I have had to sharpen them a couple times, but it's not difficult to do if you have one of those little handy hand sharpener things. And so we're trying to make quick work of this cutting out stuff. I should have I try not to do too much of this busy work in front of you because I don't want to make it boring. And if you're like me and you stamp very much, you go ahead and go, well, I know how to do that. I don't need to watch that. But you're welcome to fast forward. I don't have that fancy recording equipment that lets me fast forward and just talk over my video. Someday I might try and do that, but for now I don't. So you have to kind of just ride along, right? I will say that it's a beautiful spring day today. We actually had some sunshine for a little bit today. We haven't had any for a while. It's been kind of cold. We even had frost and hail and stuff in April, of which for us on the Olympic Peninsula was a little bit unusual. And I just planted out my sweet peas. I got them started in the house, and I just put them out a couple days ago, and I'm praying that there won't be any more frost because I don't want them to die. I've been looking forward to having some sweet peas. So there's the flowers cut out. Here's the butterflies. We're going to be cutting those out next. And when I've got something like this where I want to save those antennae and they're really delicate, I don't want to snip them off by mistake, although I've done that in the past and had antenna-free butterflies because sometimes I just don't get that saved. But I try to do the delicate stuff first when I'm cutting out, and then go and finish cutting the other things, because then I have more to hold on to, which makes it a little bit easier to cut out things, those delicate spots, when you have something to hold on to. Now we'll just do that middle section like this. I'll try and get that out of there. There we go. Okay, then we'll finish cutting that out. I think I forgot to stamp my leaves, so we get to watch me do that too today, because I forgot to stamp them so I could cut them out. And away we go. So yeah, the butterflies are in this kit for this month, and they're very cute. There's a big one that's like this, and then there's a little one that's got his wings like he's flying, and they're both very, very cute. And they could go on a card, just stamped right on the card if you wanted to. I was kind of into dimensionals today for some reason, so that's what I'm doing. But obviously you could just stamp them on the card. You could do that with this flower as well. Just stamp it right on the card. I will explain while I'm talking that I stamped the flower with Melon Mambo, and what I did is it's a two-part stamp. So the background is solid, and then you add the accents with the other stamp. And so what I did is I stamped the solid background, and I inked it and stamped it off, so that when I stamped it on the card for the one I wanted to keep, it was a lighter color. And then I went back with the second stamp that had the details, and I left it full strength and stamped it. And then you have the accent colors showing up a lot stronger. And I'm sure you can see them in here when you're looking at the flowers. Okay, let's get those antennae in here. Okay, and you probably heard my clock in the background. I have a clock that does bird sounds, and sometimes I remember not to try and do a video when it's going to go off, but sometimes I just can't time it that way. Sometimes I just want to get the job done, and so then you get to hear my clock chirping in the background. So, and then I stamped these butterflies are stamped with the crushed curry, one of the coordinating colors. And they're just stamped onto regular basic white cardstock. Now, something to remember, if you're into kits only, and you're just a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, and you're cutting up things to use for other projects, save your background, save your white pieces, because you can stamp on those. You don't have to have extra paper to do that. This tag is in the kit. Now, I need just a scrap of some white, and I used the Evening Evergreen. And I need 2 big leaves. And 2 small leaves. Oh, that one didn't stamp very good. Another scrap. Here we go. There we go. And so we'll get those cut out. I have my room set up, so just about everything is within reach of my chair and my work table, which I just love. I've been stamping for over 25 years now, and my room has evolved with me, and it's been a process. And then recently my son gave me a Glowforge laser cutter because he knows how much I love to craft, and I had to totally rearrange my room to make space for that because it's quite large. It actually needed a surface of 20 inches by 40 inches to sit on, and it has to be on a good solid totally 100% level surface or it won't work right. So I had to build a special table for it and make a space for it, and it has to be vented because when you're cutting with a laser, it makes all kinds of smoke and because it's basically burning things, and so you have to vent it. And because I couldn't put it next to the window, my husband put a dryer vent hole through the wall, and so we had that to do as well. Put that away. Okay, so we've got all our pieces here, and we need to stamp the sentiment I stamped, the sentiment came from, oh yeah, last month's March set also had the stamp, which says a little note. I like using that because, as a phrase, because it leaves it open as to what I put inside. It can say a little note wishing you well on the, and then say wishing you well on the inside, or hope you get better soon, or whatever. You can put just about anything then on the inside of the card. Now we are going to attach these pieces together, and I'm going to, the kit has little mini dots, glue dots, and I will be honest, I'm not sure what I did with them. I think I lost them. So I'm going to just pull out my rolled ones, but these are the same kind of dots. And I'm going to put a dot on the tips of the leaves on the front side of the leaf. And I'll show you why. You'll see in just a second. Okay, because I'm going to attach them, it's sticking to me, I'm going to attach them to my flower, and I've decided to put my flower in this orientation and have my leaves coming out from behind. See, then that way I can attach them where I want them, just like that, and it's ready to go. And then this one, I'm going to just put one this way, and I'm going to put the other one over this way. And then I'm going to put these on. I'm going to put all of this on with dimensionals. So I'm going to use the kit dimensionals. That'd be another basic that you might want to have on hand, especially if you're going to try to make alternatives and have multiple projects, more projects than what the kit was designed for. When you start making alternatives, lots of times you can get far more cards out of a set than are prescribed for the set. And I'm going to put some minis on here as well, on these leaves, right here and right here, just like that. Okay, come on, cooperate. You probably never have that problem. I'm going to put one more right there. I just want them well supported. Okay, and then I'm going to put this up here like this. And then we got to put some on this one. I'm going to stick with minis on this one. So yeah, mini and regular dimensionals, some extra package of those. Those are a good staple to have when you're doing your kits, so that you've got lots of those things available to do your kit with. And we're going to put this one down in this corner. And then this just needs a couple of dimensionals here and here. And this video, I can tell, is going to get long, but I apologize. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck that like that, put it there. Now for the butterflies, I'm going to take the edge of one of my dimensionals, and I'm going to cut a really thin strip off the edge, and just a couple of little pieces like that, and like that. And I'm going to put it on their body part only, just like that, right down the center. Give them just a little bit of curl with my fingers, and I'm going to put one up this way. And this one has some marks on the back because I reused a piece of white cardstock that I had already stamped on. I was testing something. And I'm going to put this one down here. And there is card number 1. Let me see, did I do something on the inside? Let me double check. Yes, I did. I took that little tiny butterfly that's fluttering, and I put him just down in the corner with some crushed curry. Because I like a little something on the inside of the card, just so when people open it, they see your lovely words, and they see a cute little butterfly. So we'll put a butterfly right down there, just like that. And there is card number 1. Now, let's move on to card number 2. Card number 2 utilizes the 2 pieces, this piece right here that was the remainder of that card we just cut for and used for card number 1. It now becomes card number 2. I cut 2 pieces from this, and they are 2 3/8 by 4 1/4 originally, if you cut them down the full size, but I'm cutting them down to 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. And so we're gonna, this one's already nice and clean edge, so I'm gonna go there, 1 1/2, and it's already 4 1/4 wide. So 1 1/2 and 4 1/4, just like that. And then this one, it's got a little bit of an edge there where the seam was, the fold was, and we're going to take that off so it doesn't have an uneven edge. And we're going to make that one 1 1/2, just like that. And we'll save that. I'm not sure what I'll do with it yet. Might be another future video there. Okay. And we're using the same with basic white thick card base. We'll get that in here and fold it and burnish it. Now the colors here are Bermuda Bay. I am going to just take these and attach them flat with Stampin' Seal. This adhesive holds so well. It really is good adhesive. And we're just matching it edge to edge all the way, top, bottom, and sides, just like that. There's that piece. And then we'll do this one, turn it around so I can see the edges, just like that. So there's the top and the bottom attached. Then, as I said, I wasn't real fond of these flowers. They just look too flat to me. I wanted them to have some dimension. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by cutting it apart. And I'm going to cut all the way around and cut all the white off. Take that edge off all the way around. Just like this. And this is the most time-consuming part of this card. The base was super easy, wasn't it? And so, you know, and I'm trying to stay with kit stuff as much as I can. And you know, it just dawns on me today as I was getting ready and making some of these cards to just realize I'm going to cut that leaf and you'll see what we're going to do with it. But I'm going to go all the way around first because it's just easier to do it that way. But it dawned on me, you've got back kits, you've got previous kits with things in them that you can use to adorn the kit you've just received if it's something you want to change up. You know, last month's kit was actually quite lovely, just the way it came. And it really didn't need to be made into alternatives in my mind. Now, it might have been something somebody else just goes, oh my goodness, give me something else. So that's why we kind of do these, is because everybody has different tastes. And so you're going to find alternatives that are totally different than what I do. And yet, to someone, they're beautiful. Okay, now we're going to take those leaves and we're going to just very carefully cut them off, but we're going to use them, so we don't want to lose them. And I'll show you how we're going to do that in just a minute. But let's cut them off first. And lastly, this one. Just like that. Okay, so there's my 3 leaves. We'll leave those lay here because we're going to use them in just a moment. But I wanted to liven up this. So what I did is I brought in a blending pen. Blender pens are different than blends pens. This is just a white pen. It's another one of the things I recommend as a staple. They come 3 to a pack. They're reusable. You can clean the color out of them and reuse them in all different colors. You don't have to have one for every color. All you do to clean them is just take and run them on their side like that until the color goes away. And they last a very long time. I used mine for literally years before I had to start replacing them. Excuse me. So what I did is I took a blends pen and the Melon Mambo. Now I'm using my large ink pad, but Melon Mambo did come as an ink spot with your kit. And I just very easily tapped this into the color. And then those white marks, I kind of just went with the shape of them and just started adding Melon Mambo where the white marks were. And I just went around, and I wasn't worried about covering the white marks necessarily. They could still show to some degree, but I was using them as my guide of where to go. And it doesn't take much ink. Now, if you start using your blend pen and it is a little bit darker than you want, just go to a piece of scrap paper and do that, and knock some of the color off, so to speak. So just going to color in those, follow the angle and all of that, just like that. Just like that. And then I brought in the crushed curry, and I used the other end of my pen, and I did these little dots in the center with crushed curry, which kind of gave it an orange center like so many flowers have, or like our mind tells us they have. And it left some of the white showing, so it's not totally colored in. And I think, personally, I think this gave this flower a lot of depth, and it really helped make it look even more beautiful in my mind. You have to let me know what you think. Now, the next thing I did was I put the leaves where I wanted them, like this, and I kind of positioned the flower. This is just a dry fit, what I call a dry fit, and I put the leaf where I wanted it to sit, because we don't have much space there to make it attach, right? So I got to get it just right, and that looks really good to me. So then I'm going to very carefully pick up my piece, and I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive over here, and then I'm going to set my flower back down and just catch that leaf, just like that. I might knock my things around, so now I'm going to have to do it again. Make sure I get them where I want them. And so I'm going to want a little bit of adhesive on this edge right here. So we're going to do that. And I'm just barely setting it down so that it'll pick up those leaves, but not stick to the card. And there's room there. It's flexible enough. You can adjust them just a little bit if you want to. I'm thinking maybe I want them just a little closer together, so I'm going to do it like that. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this over and put dimensionals on the back of this. And I'm going to make sure I put dimensionals where I have put that adhesive so it doesn't stick it down to the card too flat. So just like that. And we'll get those out of here. And I just put it right here in the centerpiece like that. And then I'm going to bring my scrap paper back because I took the Bermuda Bay. And this is scrap cardstock that I've got here. And I'm going to stamp that small butterfly with Bermuda Bay. And more fussy cutting, I'm going to cut that little guy out. Now, I could probably do it a little bit closer to the edge, but you know, I'm kind of not thinking about that. I'm thinking about getting this video done so I don't bore you to death with my videos. Okay, so we're getting... And there we go. And that one's going to need a mini dimensional, because he's tiny. And we will put that kind of up here where it's flying into the flower. And then my a little note phrase, where did it go? Too much stuff on my tabletop. I've lost it. Well, you can see I stamped a little note right there, and I'm not sure where it's at on my desktop. There it is. I knew it had to be here somewhere. And I'm going to stamp that with Bermuda Bay as well, kind of hold on to that color scheme a little bit. So let's get that one. And I just used the edge of that cardstock to help keep me straight. And there it is. There's card number 2. I have to say, I really like what I did with that flower. You'll have to let me know what you think. So there's card number 2. On to card number 3. And I will probably do more because I tried to promise my subscribers at least 5 alternatives. So I'll have some more, but this video is getting long. So here we are. So this is card number 3. And again, it's a basic white thick card base. 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we are done with this one here. So let's put that aside. And in this kit here, which was from January, they had little dots. And find my little dots. Where are they? There they are. And this was one of the envelopes. I cut the envelope open, and from the main part of the envelope, I cut this piece, which is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. It's going to go on the front here, but before I do that, I'm going to stamp the edge of this card with these dots, and I'm going to stamp off, and I'm using the Melon Mambo, and I wanted it to be a soft pink, not a dark one, because it clashed too much with the card front when I did it with the dark one. So we're going to stamp, stamp off, stamp on, stamp off, stamp on. And we're just going to do that all the way around. Now be careful because, and you can kind of turn it and stuff. The reason I say be careful is when you start doing something like this in a kind of a quick fashion, it's easy to forget and not stamp off. And then you have the one dark one and you go, oh, can I live with that? Can I not live with that? I don't know. Should I fix it, tear it apart, fix another one? You know, we just don't. So just do take your time and do be careful, because I don't know about you, but you can see how ugly that stamp is that block is getting. I can't seem to not get ink on my block. You can see I'm getting it on the card too, but it's going to cover it up, so we're not worried about that. And I'm just going all the way around, creating that border. I think that's enough. We're going to quit there. Okay, and I'm going to get me a baby wipe and clean my fingers before I get ink anywhere else I don't want it. Okay, now I'm going to attach this to the card front. And again, it's just going on flat using Stampin' Seal. So I'm currently using my iPad to do these videos with, and then I upload the video into my computer and do any editing I need to do and that from there. But for some reason this iPad wants to record off center, and I'm not sure why, and I don't know how to fix it. So anyway, that's why I'm trying to keep everything in the focus here. Okay, then in the kit were these large butterflies, and they're pretty, but I don't like all the white around them, so I'm going to trim off the white. And I apologize for how long this video's gone. I should have probably just done one at a time, but I didn't. So I apologize for that. But I hope you're enjoying my alternatives anyway. And like I say, I'm just not a big fan of white. Quite often when I use dyes and they leave the white edge, I'll go and trim them off again. And sometimes I just don't even bother with the dyes. I just cut them out because I'm going to trim it off anyway. And it's kind of what I do. So there is. Round that off just a little bit better. There's Mr. Big Butterfly. Then for the little butterfly, I've already stamped it, but what I did is I used sponge daubers, another basic I think you should try to have. They can be used for more than one, but I have one for every color. And what I did is I took the stamp and I took a dauber for the crushed curry and a dauber for the melon mambo, and I daubed directly onto the stamp and created a kind of ombre effect. So he's multicolored like the big guy. And we're going to cut that one out. Lots of fussy cutting with today's kit, with today's alternatives, I should say. Excuse me. And get those antenna done. I don't know, the big butterfly doesn't have antenna, but the little guy does. Okay, finish getting that cut out. It gets quiet when I'm cutting because I'm concentrating. So this month's kit arrived on time. Last month, my kit only came like last week. And so I whipped out some alternatives last week and I did a really quick video of those. Okay, and then we're just going to attach these. Now, I used up all of the tags that were in this kit. So I created my own. I cut it out. It is 2 3/4 inches long by 11/16 wide. We are going to stamp that cute little note on it. This time we're back to the Melon Mambo. And so yeah, I just cut it myself. I took my blender pen and I colored the tip of it very lightly. And then I just cut the notches in the end freehand. And if you look very close, you'll see that it's not perfect. So don't look very close and you'll be fine. And then it goes on here so that this colored end goes beyond the edge of the card, just like that. Kind of matches up with the opening. And then these I'm going to put on with dimensionals. And again, for the little guy, I'm going to just cut another piece off the edge here that's very thin. And it doesn't need to be very long. I think that's too long. Let me cut a little more off. And we'll stick that on right down the middle. The reason I do that is I want his wings to be free, because I want him to be able to kind of curl up just a little bit. I do that with my fingers, and it's just still a little bit long. I'm going to cut off just a little bit more of that. There we go. And it doesn't matter where you place them, but I'm going to place him right over here, him, her, it, whatever. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to put a single mini dimensional right behind his head. And I'm going to stick him up there. And then I had some pieces of that envelope flap left, or envelope piece. And so this piece is cut a 1/2 inch by 4 1/4. And I'm going to put it on the inside of the card right here at the bottom. Just like that. And you want to stay away from that fold just a tiny fraction, or it will get in the way when you're trying to close your card. So pull it away from it just a fraction, and then if it's sticking out on this end, you can just trim it off like that. And then in the kit, there's this cute little stamp of these little like flowers, and they're just adorable. So we're going to take these and we're going to stamp these across like this with the melon mambo. And you've got that edge to gauge and keep it straight. And that last little bit's just going to stamp a little bit off. And there's the inside of the card. And that was card alternative number 3. I hope you enjoyed today's alternative videos for March 2022 Paper Pumpkin. Stay tuned. I'll probably be putting up another one with at least 2 more, maybe more. We'll see how my creativity juices flow. Thanks again for stopping by. Remember, if you subscribe by May 10th, you can be entered to win that golden voucher and get $25 worth of product from Stampin' Up! With a voucher. And I would love to have you subscribe with me, and I'll put all those links in the description box below. Bye for now.